Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Your Server. In today's episode, do you ever insist on putting the check in front of the mail at the table? Asshole crossed out my tip and wrote a fat zero after I reminded him to put on a mask. Customers gets mad at me for not placing the check in front of the man? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Do you ever insist on putting the check in front of the mail at the table? I'm a server. I started as a busser and worked my way up. I never ever assume who's paying for dinner at my tables or care. Sometimes I joke around with my tables, but I never do anything like this. This happened last weekend. My mom, my grandma, my aunt and cousin, all women, and I, male, went out to lunch for my birthday. My mom offered to treat. So we went to my favorite restaurant, a pretty casual place. We go there, we eat blah blah everything and going well. Watch some college football, and it's a good time. We didn't tell the server about my birthday, because honestly both sides of that whole song and dance is torturous. Birthday person hates it, and employees hate doing it. My mom asked for the check and the server brings it over and places it in front of me. My mom just grabbed it and says, "No, I'm paying." Well, then she had some sort of discount, so she needed the bill adjusted. Flags server down, she takes it back and fixes it. When she's dropping it off, she puts it in front of me again and stands there and gives her whole "whenever you're ready mom" kinda slid it back by her while the server was still talking. The server grabs it and puts it in front of me again and says, "Oh, he can cover this one." My mom said, "No, I will." I felt so awkward. Who does that? My mom said she was trying to make a joke, but I didn't find it funny. I'm not going to do anything, but if I go back there and end up with her as a server, would it be petty to request someone else? I always tented the book in the middle of the table. Whoever wants to pay can grab it, and I avoid that awkward "don't let him pay, I want to pay" nonsense. As a patron who is no longer a server, I refuse to play that know me game. I would prefer if we just always split it. Sometimes I will grab the check and pay, but if you grab it first and say you are paying, I'm not gonna do that whole back and forth thing. You said you are paying, I'm fine with that, have it at Moneybags. I always put it in the middle, slightly out of reach if possible, so no one thinks I'm giving it to them. A few months ago, my boyfriend and I went out to eat and I handed the waitress the cash, and she gave the change to my boyfriend. He was like, "This isn't my money." I normally wouldn't have been annoyed, but I handed her the money. Happens to me when I'm out with opposite gender folks all the time. Name on card sounds female and the check was handed to you by a woman? Well, putting it in front of the dude after running it anyway. I worked as a server for a long $8 time, so I never stiff on tip for this kind of thing, but I feel like it would definitely get your tip docked by a lot of people because it's super sexist and offensive. I've had that happen a time or two, but I've also had it happen the opposite direction. Either way, it makes no sense. I just look for the person fumbling with their wallet, or otherwise I plop it in the middle. Usually before that I ask if it's all on one bill, and it's pretty safe to assume the person that says yes is getting said bill. This was my experience eating out so far, and I thought it was standard. Having my wallet out always got me the check, even when eating out with my boyfriend. It's one thing to place it in front of the mail, it's another to insist that you pay for it. Like what? You're not the person choosing who pays for it. The only time I'd find this acceptable is if the guy she was handing it to was actually a 5-year-old boy, because then it's clearly a joke. It sounds like she was shaming him. Right, this seems like a good way to get less of a tip or none. Nice way to ruin the mood of a meal. When someone asks for the check, I'll hand the check to that person. They asked for it, so why wouldn't they want it? That's what I've always done. You ask for it, you get it. It's also fun joking with kids when they order the bill. If you order the bill, you have to pay. Didn't your parents tell you? I put the check in front of the person who asks for it. When my husband and I go to restaurants, I handle the check, sometimes the ordering of wine, because he knows I'm better at it. I get very annoyed when the check is placed in front of my husband when I ask for the check. It's the same thing when I order the wine. If the server has my husband taste it and approve it, it irks me. Wine should always be offered for tasting to the person ordering unless that person insists otherwise. Trust me, it annoys me as a dude when my wife is ignored and clearly in charge of the dining experience. As a server, I just want food and trust her judgment in ordering wine and food. Yeah, I don't get that. Whoever orders the wine should be given the tasting glass. That's just poor serving etiquette. If I had a good rapport with the table, I'd ask who wants the bad news and hold up the book. Or if you want chaos/joblessness, okay, which one of you makes the most money? I do this with tables that have no sense of humor, because I'd rather have fun than make money. If you end up with that server ever again, I'd be honest, and let them know about this situation again so they can learn from it. Agreed. If that was a joke, it was not funny at all. She was trying to emasculate him in front of his family, and it is nothing less than a blatant insult. Right. I like the restaurant otherwise and haven't had a problem with any other server there, but I wouldn't want her to be my server again. I've been on the other side of it where a coworker asked me to take their table because they knew the customer, or the customer annoyed them in the past. So what's the big deal if a customer asks for a different server because they made them uncomfortable in the past? Maybe I'm being a big baby about it. Asshole crossed out my tip and wrote a fat 0 after I reminded him to put on a mask. Most counties are back on high alert with mask mandates, much to the chagrin of people who thought the pandemic was over. I live in a coastal town, and this couple from Texas came in and did the whole dramatic, so I need to wear a mask to walk to the table? But once I sit down, I can take it off for the whole meal. Do you realize how stupid that sounds? I don't care. Them's the rules. It honestly takes so much more effort to put up a fight. These types of people are so emotionally exhausting. So they sit down, order, and get on with their meal. The bill is dropped off, and the husband gets up to go to the bathroom, sans mask. I didn't need to say anything since they were leaving anyway, but on his walk back to the table I reminded him, "Hey bud, just wear a mask when you're walking through the restaurant." He shot me the most annoyed, dirty glare. He asked one of the servers if I was receiving any part of his tip, we pool. And with that, he scratched out his tip and wrote a fat 0 with a caption, "Ask your bud." The kicker? The tip he had crossed out was $3 on $35. Jeebus. I wish you could have taken your own $3 and pressed it into his hand with a very warm "Here sweetie, it looks like you need this more than we do." When I worked at a dive bar, a really drunk and mean gal tipped me with a penny to be rude. I just threw it at her and said some variation of exactly that, ha. She immediately started apologizing, but I called over my bouncer to see her out. Good times. I'm starting to think restaurants should charge automatically 20% gratuity. A lot of places in Seattle are doing this. It's a pretty big fight amongst the industry people. Some love it, some hate it. As a customer, I like that 18 to 20% is automatically added to the bill, and the servers in turn get a better wage and healthcare benefits. It's long past overdue in my opinion. I can see the other side too for folks that are very professional and good who probably make more with traditional tips, even when accounting for the expense of paying for healthcare. 48 years ago, I was in 17F server at a Sizzler-type steakhouse. My high school algebra teacher came in with a friend. This particular teacher was prone to hateful and unexplainable explosive outbursts, and relentlessly picked on this super smart, but socially challenged guy. Class was torture every single time. She left me a penny tip. I am so hoping I outlived her. I would have brought that penny in and left it on their desk with a note that said, "Thought you needed this more than I did. Mrs. X, are we going to work on percentages in class next week?" The biggest tragedy here is that he really thought he was sticking it to you by crossing out a less than 10% tip. I refuse to enforce the mask rules where I work. I'll wear mine, but I'm not going to say anything to the customers. It's not worth it. If management wants people to wear masks, then the manager can go tell them to wear a mask. It's not worth it for me. It's not worth potentially angry customers. It's the cold, hard truth. We've joked that PPP loans should be diverted to a series of hall monitors who do the CDC's job for us. It's too dangerous to try to tell the anti-masker mask holes to mask up. People get killed over that. My patience for it really went out the window over the last 6 months. We're still in the most restricted state in the US, and everyone walks right past the 3 masks now required by law to be worn in hotel public places sans mask. I don't even say anything anymore unless they're right in front of me. Most everyone is like, OMG, I can't believe I walked in without it, but occasionally we get the self-righteous types to check in. The last time went like this. Me, hey, welcome to hotel. Before we get you checked in, do you by any chance have a face covering you can put on? Guy, no scoff. Me, no worries. I got a big ol' stack of spares, right? Guy, oh no, I'm not going to wear one. They don't do anything. Me, oh. Okay. Then I'm not going to help you. Have a nice day. Smiley face. He threw a hell of a *tch fit, but I have the right to turn away anyone for any reason, and becoming a risk to other guests and staff seems reasonable enough to me. When he first came in and asked those 3 questions, I already would have refused them service. Do you realize how stupid that sounds? Is a hostile interaction, and you can go find somewhere else to eat. Yep. Excuse me? Right. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone, and I am exercising that right. Please dine somewhere else. Next. I mean, really. You should just put those menus back down and say, I can see that this isn't going to work out. There's plenty of fast food by the highway. You have a nice night. I'm in no rush to go back to the restaurant lifestyle. Sometimes I think that making health policy being enforced by people who have to cater to the most entitled *king populace in history for money might not be the best idea to defeat a pandemic. Oh well, stocks are up. He sounds like an offended little snowflake. Customers gets mad at me for not placing the check in front of the man? What's up? I'm 20M, a longtime lurker here. Just a Reddit user that serves while in college at a restaurant. It's nice to be able to relate to people and hear crazy stories, and today I finally got one. I always feel it's rude to only give the man the check. It's outdated, it's sexist, and a lot of times I've seen the wife or girlfriend pay for the meal. Anyways, this older family came in, kids within their late 20s and parents most likely in their 60s to 70s. They look a bit more like country folk, most of them wearing flannel. They are pretty quiet throughout their meal. They eat their meal, and I go get them their check. When I deliver it, I tell them here's the check, and put it directly in the middle of the table. The dad grabs it aggressively and makes an angry exhale noise. He looks at me and tells me, do I look like a man that can't feed his family? I tell him no, but you never know who has the wallet. In which he replies, if I fed the family, why wouldn't I have the wallet? This angered me because both my parents worked while I was growing up. They both were successful and didn't need to rely on each other to get by. I simply say sorry, and he shakes his head and opens the check. His wife is acting totally on his side, also providing angry body language with me. Those people can go to hell. The world has moved on from such abusive ways of thinking, and has expanded into an open world of endless opportunities for every gender and race. If you think like that man, I hope you get left in the dust and forgotten. Some people just look for a reason to be offended. I bet it made him feel really good to make sure you knew that he's a big strong man who can pay a tab all by himself. These snowflakes are so easily triggered these days /s. This statement is so true. Some people seem to be looking for a reason to go off on someone. Life is hard enough, calm down. My wife and I go out to eat moderately often with my father-in-law. Typically a server will ask, will that be one check or? And will put the check in the hands of whoever speaks up and says one. And that is a smart move. I have learned to always just set it down in the middle of the table, and that way whoever reaches for it obviously will be paying. Really easy and eliminates any awkwardness. Even if I know who's paying, they might be reaching for a wallet even, but I still put it in the middle. Sometimes people fight to pay, so whoever grabs it first wins, in my mind, and I'm left out of the decision, haha. My wife's pay and my pay go into the same account, so no matter who hands over the card and signs the slip, we're both paying. About half the time it's her doing the signing. We have a silly little running joke where we always thank each other for each other's dinner as we are walking to the car. That's how we are too. My husband isn't great at figuring out the tip, so I usually just use my card to pay, and then I fill out the slip and calculate the tip. If we order from outside, we thank each other for the food. I don't know why, but we did it since day one, haha. I'd have set it in the middle just for the fact that dad and son typically fight over the check and wouldn't want to get in the middle of that. I wonder what would have happened if, when he asked, do I not look like I can feed my family, the server said, not really. That would have been bad for the server though, 'cause Bonehead would have blown up, and yes, demanded the manager a la Kevin. Customers get mad for literally any reason, and use it as an excuse to be king assholes or lower your tip. One time a lady didn't tip because she was mad her guy kept staring at Maya's anytime I was in my section. I only knew he was staring at Maya's because it was so obvious that one of my other tables noticed and let me know. He didn't feed his family, the cooks did. He just paid for it like a man putting on Aries. Probably the one time a year they can afford to go out to eat. Do I look like a man that can't feed his family? I don't think that is intended to be taken literally. He means can't afford to pay to feed his family. I tell him no, but you never know who has the wallet. Sometimes kids like to treat their parents. That's good. I have no idea, sir, that's none of my business, and as long as someone pays, I can move on with my day. I imagine you'd like to move on with yours too, so I'll be back to pick it up in a few minutes. Oh, I like that. None of my business not answering it. Good one. I notice servers in my city always put the check in front of the man. One time I was in a small family restaurant with a dude. I tried to pay and the server, who I think was also the owner, straight up wouldn't let me. It was hilarious. Haha, you don't get to pay, ma'am. We only accept mail currency around here. Great, free food then. Funny how this thread comes on the heels of this other one. Came to the comments for this. Right. Made my bullsh *T light start flashing. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.